Why is it glittery? Because you're walking down it. This is one of my cousins. At least I think he's my cousin. I never knew that witches carried glitter with them. Oh my god. Maybe it's because you're coming down here. Why? Jesus. Oh, I'm going to get stoned, aren't I? I don't want to get wet. Well then, get over it. It's a cave. Yeah. Shh. Okay. And here we see the exotic reindeers. Next Skywalker was about Luke Skywalker was about just right there, and then he disappeared. The reindeer's moving. Oh god, it is as well. All of them are moving. Skywalker was. He was right there. And then he goes by. Luke and he wasn't. Just in there, he was on that wall. The witch turned into stone and made him die on that wall. You do realise none of that scares me. This is from my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you mind if I put your face in it? Don't worry, you'll be famous. Famous, I hope.
Okay, so we're now in a chamber which is known as the witch's kitchen. And the witch's kitchen is where the witch fled to after this argument with Father Bernard. Coming down here and hiding in the dark. Bernard follows, working his way down the slope. No steps then, of course. He gets down to the river, scoops up some water in his chalice, blesses it, but then his candle's blown out. So in the dark he walks around, scattering holy water far and wide. Eventually there's a scream. It's the sound of the hiding witch being splashed by holy water and turned to stone forevermore. All that's said to remain of her is her head looking out over the River Axe, said to be this large dark shape. Her bonnet on top, her nose and mouth looking out over the river, and at the bottom a great big long chin. Now witches, generally speaking, are said to have cats for company. This witch had a dog called Dougal, and poor old Dougal turned to stone along with his mistress is lying on the floor behind you, and he's at the bottom of the steps. I'll light him up. There he is, down there, poor old Dougal, on an eternal wait for his dinner by the look of it. So Dougal's very smooth on his back. The reason for that, he's calcified, which means a layer of calcite has formed on him over time. Calcite exists in these caves in many forms, but I think most noticeable in here is the big stalagmite rising to the roof just there. That stalagmite is known as the giant. Now the giant is around 100,000 years old. It takes about 1,000 years for a cubic centimetre of calcite to form. Calcite's a substance locked in limestone. It can be released by the action of water. The water gets mildly acidic first up on the surface, works its way into the rock, dissolves it, and then releases this substance when it evaporates in the cave. Calcium carbonate. It's not dissimilar to your own fingernails in some ways. So, behind the giants, we've got St. Michael's Mount in the pool. bearing a resemblance, of course, to the Cornish landmark. Next to that, the beehive. You'll see these two closer up as you work your way further on, of course. Above my head, we've got straws. These straws are calcite and they're hollow. They can grow well over 1 metre long sometimes, but if they get blocked, then they can start turning into, as you can see, clinging from the roof of the cave, stalactites. Down beneath the stalactites is the River Axe. And the River Axe flows out of the cave from left to right, anything up to 11 million gallons of water a day on stormy weather times, about 1 million gallons of water a day at other times. Ends up in the Bristol Channel, just south of Weston-super-Mare, about 6 to 9 degrees in temperature. But we don't see fish in this part of the river because there's not enough food for them. You'll get the occasional eel, you might see a shrimp or two. And there are activities that go on in this cave. The boat is part of that. And caving is one of these activities. In actual fact, I can hear some of the cavers up above us. They're probably going to be descending this rope very shortly. Caving is something you can do here at Wookey. If you're over 14, there's no experience necessary. Our team would happily take you. If it's ever of interest, there are leaflets in the mill, dedicated pages about the caving on the Wookey Hole website. Right, I think we'll work our way on at this point. Now, the access to this next chamber is extremely low. Mind your heads on the way through. Let's carry on. I think I want to come this way.
They don't, those look like the Dobby peas. Maybe you just pointed at me. Hold it again, please. Don't move your finger away from here, because that'll turn it black. And you don't want that. The camera. You might see some cats. What are them little statues up there? There's like 2 little statues together. Where? Up there. Where are you pointing? 2 little statues. What? 2 little statues. Can you see? No, I can't. You'll see when we come down.
You can actually come forwards just a little bit if you want to. It's fine.
The little screen on the little things. Archie, move back a little. Archie. That's freezing.
Okay, so here we are in a chamber known as the Great Hall. And the Great Hall has got a cathedral-like look. It's also got a cathedral-like sound as well. Up in the roof up there, a number of stalactites hanging down that should really be the most impressive in the cave. In places, some of those should be at least 3 meters longer. The reason they're not, well, that's always blamed on Alexander Pope, the famous 18th century poet, who it's said ultimately wanted some garden ornaments. So he arranged with the Abbot of Glastonbury for troopers to come in here, armed with muskets. They lined the floor with straw and then shot them down. They were then carted off to London and installed in a grotto in Alexander Pope's garden in Twickenham. The grotto does actually still exist. It's in the grounds of a school now. It's open a few days of each year. Now, there are a few things in here that are said to look like other things. The first of these is the Statue of Liberty. It's the hand holding the torch that you're looking for, but I have to be perfectly honest, it's not an easy one to work out at all. I actually struggle with it. There you go. Now, some people, if they stood in exactly the right place, will go, oh yes, I can make it out. I must admit, we're a bit limited on that because you've got to be stood in exactly the right place. Let's try the next one, which is far more recognisable to everyone as St Paul's Cathedral. Followed by a visit from Casper the Ghost. And then finally the turn of Dumbo the elephant with his trunk facing away from us. Okay, what we're going to do next is we'll work our way further on into Chamber 3. Where the red light is up ahead is the point where you duck down to get into Chamber 3. Don't rise too quickly when you get in there. Step number 3 ahead of me, deepest of the flight, so mind how you go. Just the other side of the red light, you do actually have enough time if you wish to. You can stand up just the other side of the red light. You're in the Witch's Chimney. The Witch's Chimney in cave terms is an avon, a shaft from one part of a cave to another. In the Witch's Chimney, you'll see hart's tongue ferns growing, and the only reason that you'll see plant life in the cave is because it's the electric light that keeps it alive. Let's work our way on.
Rio.
Okay, so this bit here, this is the Witch's Chimney, but you have to come right in and then you'll see up there. I'm going to carry on, give you a bit of space.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Ooh. Last time I said that was the witch's nose. That were actually his bogies. That's what they said. And when I went, oh, way. Last time they said that you can actually have weddings here. The actual what? A wedding. Like here, not back there, only here. That's insane.
Sorry?
Should be off the rocks there.
I wouldn't
I
swim
wouldn't
in
go
it.
too close to the edge of the water because it's actually pretty slippery down there. It's quite easy to go in.
Arthur, Richard.
What's
I've
in
seen
there?
it happen.
Richard.
So,
Don't go too close
oh,
to the water.
first ever cave dive.
Close to the water.
Hmm. Site of the first ever cave dive. They said no flash. said no.
There was no flash.
It was.
Okay, so this is Chamber 3. Chamber 3 does have another name. It's known as the Witch's Parlour. Compared to the other chambers you visit on the tour, this does have a very unique shape, and the reason for the shape is that at the melt of the last ice age, chambers of Wookey, and indeed most caves, were considerably smaller, and then of course completely flooded. This particular chamber was flooded by a whirlpool that span in here for a huge period of time, stirring up rocks and debris and literally grinding it out into this amazing shape. A famous chamber in cave exploration terms, because in 1935, Graham Balcom, Penelope Mossy Powell as she was known, got into this water here using diving suits with the big brass helmets, lead boots, lead weights. One of their diving suits is in the caving exhibition, and off they set. Their dives broadcast on the radio at the time because they were the very first UK cave dives. It's marked out in brass just down there. Also a chamber used for many things, lots of filming. Doctor Who's been filmed in here a couple of times, once in the 1970s with Tom Baker, completing the cast of Cybermen, also with David Tennant in 2009. Blue Peter have filmed in here fairly recently, and a chamber that hosts many weddings throughout the summer months as well. When we actually leave this chamber, we'll work our way along a short man-made tunnel, and at the end of which is the cheddar cheese which gets matured in this cave. So the cheddar cheese you're about to see starts life at Ford Farm Dairy in Dorset, spends a year at the dairy, then it comes into the cave for 6 months. 100% humidity in the cave, constant temperature, it's perfect for maturing cheddar cheese. You have to remember, cheese was always matured in places like caves until the invention of refrigeration. After 6 months in the cave, the cheese returns to the dairy for 3 months. It has its muslin outer that's smeared in lard, cut away and discarded, and it's distributed. You could try samples of the cheese in the shop in the mill, you can buy bits as well. After you see the cheese, you go over a series of bridges. Now the bridges are about 4.5 to 5 metres above the water. They have high, enclosed handrails. Most people are absolutely fine with them, but of course if anyone needed a shortcut, I'll be waiting ahead. I'm going to lead us out of here, but what I would say is mind your heads as you leave this chamber. Let's carry on.
But they oh no, we're trapped. And we're trapped. God, we ain't trapped. Yes, we are.
Lots of cheese, lots of smelly cheese. You can get as close as you like, I don't mind. You might though.
Lots and lots of cheese. God, Jesus. Oh my God, I've never smelled any cheese before. Wait. Yeah, that is where the lady died. I'm scared of her.
You feel free to get as close as you want, take photographs if you wish to. But just wait there a moment and I'll let you know where we're going next.
Bye.